Good evening, good morning, beautiful souls. It's Reverend Stephanie Denise, and welcome back to my channel. I love to talk to you today about healing your inner child after loss. Healing your inner child after loss, a path to wholeness, right? This is such a important time and an important season in our life, right? I want to just have a heart-to-heart conversation with you today about something that many of us have experienced, but very few of us talk about. So, what is it? How our inner child often resurfaces during these seasons of profound loss. Yeah, that inner child resurfaces after feelings of profound loss. So, what do we do? Whether you've recently said goodbye to a parent, or navigating life after losing your spouse, or finding yourself in an empty nest, you may have noticed some surprising emotional responses. Surprising, right? Perhaps you're feeling unexplained, abandonment fears, right? Unexplained abandonment fears, or maybe you're seeking approval in ways that you thought you had already outgrown. Or you might even be finding yourself reacting to situations with emotions that seem disproportionate, right, to the situation. Beloveds, what you're experiencing is your inner child, right? Your inner child, that vulnerable part, that emotional part of yourself, right? That emotional part of yourself that's formed during the earliest of your years. And guess what? It's coming to the surface and it's asking for attention and it wants to be healed, right? As I've walked alongside many women through my years as a pastor and experienced my own journey of loss and transition, one thing I've discovered is that God often uses the painful seasons to highlight areas of our hearts that have needed healing for a long time. And we haven't tended to those areas. So Isaiah 61:1 reminds us that the Lord came to bind up the brokenhearted. And you know what? Sometimes that binding up involves gently unwrapping those old wounds that we've carried since childhood. Can you believe it? Understanding the inner child emergence after loss is very important, right? We have to be patient. Let me explain this. Let me explain why significant losses often trigger our inner child wounds. When we lose someone central to our lives, a parent, a spouse, or when our children leave home, we experience what psychologists call attachment disruption. I'll say that title again, attachment disruption. These pivotal relationships provide us with security, they give us identity, and they also give us emotional regulation, much like our earliest caregivers did. When these attachments shift through a death or a divorce or children leaving, guess what? Our nervous system can respond as though we're experiencing our very first attachments being disrupted. Whoa. Right? So suddenly, those original childhood feelings that we may have had of abandonment, of inadequacy, or fear all come rushing back. They come rushing back. Can you believe that? They come rushing back. In Psalm 139, 23 through 24, David prays. And in his prayer, he says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting." This beautiful prayer acknowledges that sometimes we need God's help to understand our own hearts and the deeper sources of our anxious thoughts. As a real estate investor, I often tell clients that the foundation issues are the most important ones to address. You can redesign a kitchen all you want, but guess what? If the foundation is cracked, those beautiful renovations, they are not going to last, right? So the same is true with our emotional lives. What do I mean by that? These seasons of loss often reveal the foundational issues in our hearts that need actual attention, that need to be healed. Which brings me to another area. Why many of us haven't healed our inner child? Why haven't we healed our inner child? Before we talk about healing, let's understand why many of us, especially women of faith, haven't addressed our inner child wounds before now. First, many of us were raised in generations where children's emotional needs weren't fully understood and weren't prioritized. We were taught to be seen and not heard, to stop crying, or that children should adjust to whatever adult circumstances are going on without even giving consideration for how those experiences might have shaped our own lives, right? I'm Generation X. This is how it was for us. And so I think that as Christians, right, as people of faith, we sometimes misapply scripture. Did I say that? Yes. Sometimes we misapply scripture, right? Like putting away childish things. That's 1 Corinthians 13:11. Sometimes we think, oh, we're supposed to disconnect from our childlike emotions, rather than actually understanding that Paul was talking about spiritual maturity, not emotional suppression. Yeah, again, Paul wasn't talking about emotional suppression, right? Not at all. He was just talking about being spiritually mature. And many of us have been so busy, let me say that again, so busy caring for others. You already know what I'm going to say. So busy caring for others, our children, our aging parents, our communities, that we haven't even had the time or even the permission to attend to our own emotional needs. I give you permission, right? I give myself permission to attend to my own emotional needs. I give you permission to attend to your own emotional needs, right? We forget about attending to ourselves. We're so busy attending to others. We've become masters at postponing our own healing for someday when I'm not so busy, someday when things settle down, right? Instead of making ourselves the priority. Also, we lack models for this kind of inner healing work. This is kind of a sad situation, but how many people do you know who have healed their inner child, right? We lack these models for this kind of inner healing work. In Titus 2, verses 3 through 5, older women are actually encouraged to teach what is good and train younger women. older women are encouraged to teach what is good and train younger women. Wow, that's beautiful, right? But if our mentors never address their own inner child wounds, they couldn't guide us through healing ours, right? So the beautiful truth is that Jesus himself affirmed the importance of children and childlike faith. In Matthew 18:3, he says, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like a little child or become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Part of spiritual maturity is actually reclaiming your authentic, trusting parts, those parts of our child nature, while healing the wounded parts, right? We have to heal those wounded parts. So let's look at 5 ways to start to work on healing those wounded parts. Number 1, call in reinforcements. What do I mean by call in reinforcements? If it's possible, it's time to enlist a trusted friend or a therapist to act as your support system, right? During this reparenting process. Close pals can be helpful. Mental health pros can be helpful, even better, right? So that you can, they can view your experiences, right, from a educated and objective lens, and they can support you better, right, as you're going through this process. Trauma is going through a divorce. Trauma is death of a loved one. Trauma is incest. Trauma is addiction issues. Trauma is physical or mental abuse. Trauma is abandonment. So that's why you have to call in reinforcements, because trauma is serious, right? We have to heal that inner child. Number 2, this is very important. Schedule recess. Recess is one of the favorite parts of my day when I'm at work with those 5th graders, right? But what do I mean by schedule recess? We get distracted by our responsibilities in adulthood, right? Playfulness is essential for good mental health. And being able to let your inner child out is very important. As a matter of fact, today I was at the store and I saw this box of markers and I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. Why? I'm going to color. I'm going to spend some time coloring, right? Healing that inner child. That's something I loved to do when I was little. So you have to be able to let your inner child out, right? So sneak in activities that allow you to bring back childhood joy. You hear me? Childhood joy. Go out for an ice cream cone, right? If that's something that you like to do, go out for an ice cream cone, play board games, head to the playground, hop on the swings, right? The other day, I was with my student who I work with, the one who has CP and autism, and I climbed up the play structure and went down the slide, and she was like, "Miss Stephanie, what are you doing?" And I was just cracking up because I hadn't gone down the slide in a while, right? So you have to schedule recess, right? Whatever you decide to do, the aim is to make your world lighter and to rekindle positive emotions. That's so important, right? Um, this is where you get closer to healing that childhood self, right? Allowing that childhood self to resurface. That allows you to then dive into the areas that you need to heal, right? Number 3, write a letter. Take some time. Once that childlike version of you is making an appearance, it is a good time to have a conversation, right? Write a letter to yourself. Write a letter to yourself as if you are a child, right? Do you know that this can potentially help heal any wounds that might be decades old? Decades, right? And give your soul peace by reaching a place of forgiveness. The goal is to give substance to your childhood pain, to that childhood trauma or disappointment, so that it can be set free and pave the way for an uplifting future for you. That's so important. So as you put pen to paper or type on your phone or your computer, start writing a raw, honest letter. A letter to your young self that addresses the hardships and the challenges that you may have faced, right? While giving comfort to your inner child. This is very important. Try to banish any feelings of guilt or blame that you have harbored for situations that you couldn't even control. And instead, offer your childlike self the compassion that was missing. Also, ask your younger self questions such as, how do you feel? What do you need from me? And how can I support you? You'll be surprised what comes up in this area. Be totally open to the process. Number 4, meditate. Meditate. Now that you have the conversation started and those questions and emotions are swirling around, this is the time to dive deeper with meditation. If you don't already have a mindfulness or prayer practice in place, meditation is one of the best options for inner child work, right? This particular modality, now I'm talking about theta meditation. Look that up when you get a chance. This modality involves connecting to a different state of consciousness, right? To be able to reprogram the limitations and the emotional blocks that might still be actually lingering from your past. Okay. So think about that. Meditation provides a powerful means to be able to connect with your inner child. And that's what you want to do. You want to heal those emotions that are still there from when you were little, right? And lastly, number 5, create and repeat affirmations. What do I mean by that? Create and repeat affirmations. Okay? Reparenting isn't often a linear process. By no means is it a straight line. Hold on one second. There's, excuse me, there's not a straight line, right? Excuse me. It's going to take a little bit of work, right? It's going to take some positive affirmations to help guide you forward in this process. You want to stay positive. You want to keep the trajectory positive, right? You want to tell your inner child that it's going to be okay, right? Research has shown that positive affirmations can help support and establish and enhance self-worth and self-love. This is very important because your inner child needs to know that they are okay, that they are loved, right? So that you can move forward, right? So let me give you an example of some positive affirmations that kind of align well with inner child work. I am happy, healthy, loved, and abundant. I am happy, healthy, loved, and abundant. I choose to foster an environment filled with peace and safety for myself. I choose to foster an environment filled with peace and safety for myself, right? Oh, I'm so very pleased with myself. Oh, I'm so very pleased with myself, right? Or things like this. I release feelings of shame and guilt from my childhood. I release feelings of shame and guilt from my childhood, right? Or I receive and accept kindness with ease. I receive and accept kindness with ease. The bottom line, reparenting exercises allow you to reconnect with your inner child, right? And when you reconnect with your inner child, then that's when you have to help that inner child within you deal with and overcome past trauma, right? And how can you do it? By resurfacing your playful nature, writing a letter to your inner child, delving deeper through meditation and prayer, creating positive affirmations that speak the words your inner child longed to hear. You can walk down the road towards ditching negative coping mechanisms and boost your self-esteem and unshackle your gifts, your dreams, and your passions. You can do it. It's time. It's time to walk in your healing, heal your inner child, and be on the path to wholeness. Thank you, beloved souls, for listening. If you heard something here that resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, be blessed on your path to wholeness.